So in section 1, I laid out the foundation of mentoring, which is that seed of God's love. And then out of that seed come our roots of our vision, of seeing them move closer to Christ, of our commitment to love them well, and then our strategy, which can be flexible and spirit-led, then depending on who our mentoree is and where life circumstances have them. So now we're going to continue with that analogy of our tree and the seasons that you may experience. Within your time of meeting, hopefully you will find yourself in all of these seasons at some point or another, although maybe not sequentially like I'm going to present them today. So we have the spring season of connecting, we have the summer season of truth-telling, we have the fall or harvest season of healing, and we have the winter season of goodbyes and letting go. So I represent the spring season of connecting as the trunk and the branches of our tree. This season is a time of active listening. It's a time of seeking to empathize and understand your mentoree. It's also a time of sharing your own vulnerabilities and some of your own life experiences. I really, during this time, it's important to pray for what I like to call Holy Spirit glasses. And what I mean by that is really just a heightened awareness and discernment of what God may be revealing to your mentoree, and then that specific role that He asks you to play and speak into their life. Each of these moments then of connecting strengthens us. It's like adding a ring to our tree so that then the water and nutrients that God provides for our souls can really flow. And one of the neat things about mentoring is I feel like this happens not only hopefully in our mentoree's life, but we also see this within our own life as believers. So before I go through just some helpful ways of connecting, I'm going to start with maybe some of the obstacles to connecting that you may face with your mentoree. Not all of us have healthy connections, and so just like a real tree, negative factors can really influence or affect the health or the ability for us to be able to connect. So now, specifically think of your mentoree and what they have faced or are currently facing. Maybe that's patterns of hurtful relationships, maybe even abuse or neglect. Or maybe they've experienced conditional connecting, which can take many forms, such as trust that's repeatedly broken, vulnerabilities or weaknesses that are shamed, or love or acceptance that's based solely on performance or very unrealistic expectations. Maybe the obstacle is a current crisis that has just this family or person overwhelmed or in a stranglehold. People can also have a defeating inner voice where they see and speak to themselves as hopeless, unforgivable, or worthless. And lastly, many times we see here is broken boundaries, where how a person receives from and gives to others is not in balance. So how many of these obstacles, how long and to what degree people have experienced these things in their life will all affect a person's willingness to trust and to open up and ultimately to feel connected to you. The neat thing again as a mentor is that you really can have a profound influence on helping to heal some of those things in your mentoree's life. And now I'm going to turn it over to Nathan and Arla, and they're just going to again look at that practical side of what maybe obstacles look like in your mentoree's life or even in your meeting environment.
Sometimes there are obstacles to connecting, things that get in the way of having a good connection. One of the main obstacles that we might have is trust. The people need to trust us. They need to trust where we're coming from. They need to trust the relationship that we're building and trust that what they're saying to us is going to remain confidential. They need to trust that we're not going to chastise them for the things that they're bringing up, and that we're going to allow them to keep their dignity throughout this whole process. We're there because we love them, not because we're trying to fix them or work on a greater issue in their life. When we really trust people, then we start to see them really opening up, and we see that connection happening.
I'm going to talk a little bit now just about some really, really simple and very basic obstacles that sometimes get overlooked. Your environment that you meet in is crucial to rebuilding this trust and making them feel safe. Sometimes sharing some big things in a busy restaurant doesn't make them feel safe. Really be aware of that. If you are struggling with connecting and you are always meeting in the same coffee shop or you're meeting with your children around, switch it up and try some different things. go for a drive in the car, or sit at the park, somewhere where you feel like is a little more intimate, that you can openly share and pray together. Another basic one is watching your body language. Sometimes your body speaks louder than the things you say.
Other things to look for, signs that you might not be connecting, then again, some of the more basic ones I would say would just be looking to see if the person you're meeting with is making eye contact with you. If that's not happening, then there might be a connection issue going on. Maybe they're fidgeting with things or really nervous. I know Arla uses humor a lot. We try to use humor to help relax the mood a little bit. If you see people who are really distracted by their cell phone, thank goodness my cell phone went off here, and so if they're constantly looking for those distractions or things to get distracted by, that might be a sign that the connection isn't going so great here.
I think too, some of the things that people use, it's because they're uncomfortable going there. As a mentor, you do kind of need to push through their uncomfortableness, and they will use those things like their kids and their cell phones and idle chatter. They'll just talk about whatever just because they're nervous and they're uncomfortable to talk about some of those things, especially spiritual issues.
You might be meeting with someone with children, and that can be an obstacle. So just to respectfully tell them, hey, would it be possible to meet without the kids next time? Or how about we have let's just turn our cell phones off when we meet, have a no cell phone policy. Sometimes too, when there can be things that might seem like the connection is going really well, but actually it is an obstacle. For example, maybe you leave the appointment and you said, that was a good connection, and then as you reflect on it, you say, they just talked a lot, but we never really dove into the real issue here. And so realizing that that kind of nervous habit of talking or the constant talking was getting in the way. It was an obstacle.
Another area that's difficult to navigate is their past. People have grown up in situations where they have felt unloved, they've felt judged, they've been hurt by family members or by the church. This can be a huge obstacle because it's difficult for them to receive that love, that grace, even that acceptance. And so this is a gentle process, and it's going to be one that takes an awful lot of prayer and an awful lot of patience on your part.
As we reflect on our time together, we might also notice that maybe it's us who's being an obstacle to connecting. Maybe we haven't been diving into the real issues of life because we're afraid we're going to hurt or damage the relationship. I guess I'd encourage you, like we did in the last section, to just be obedient to what God has for you, or the vision that you start to see laid out for their life, and try and look for ways to look for things, ways that God is speaking to you in terms of how to get involved in their life, in their conversation.
Something neat that Nathan and I do is we journal after each meeting, and I would really encourage you to do that. It's a neat thing to follow what God is doing, and also to identify any obstacles that are coming up. If you're really struggling and you've met for a while, 4 months or so, and you're struggling with a deeper connection, sometimes journaling your thoughts and your feelings after an appointment, and then maybe going back and reflecting on that, it can also be just a really neat keepsake for you and your mentoree's journey.
Mm-hmm.